this new edition of Komala's interviews. I'm Reti Lubala, and today we are here with Jeff Siaw. Did I pronounce that well?
Yeah, you got it.
Perfect. So I'll let you introduce yourself to tell us about yourself, what you do, what your organization does as well, and where we are maybe as well. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for having me. You got my name right, Jeff Siaw. I was born in Ghana. I'm 20. I'll be turning 25 in October 6th. So 25th birthday coming pretty soon. I was born in Ghana. Humble beginnings, like the quintessential African story. My parents moved here in 2000, and I lived back home with my grandma. I have two younger brothers, my cousins. We all lived with my grandma. And I came here so my parents came in 2000, and I came with my younger brothers in 2010.
Okay.
So this past June we celebrated our 7 years here in the States,
nice.
Which was awesome. I went to Leominster High for 6 months, then went to Worcester State University. While I was in Worcester State University, I worked, trying to work in corporate America at AT&T. Had a few accomplishments and moved over here to Harvard Square. So while I was working, I had the opportunity to meet the founder of now the Popular Africans in Boston organization. And I got into the role of the executive director of this organization. So I think that was through that I met you. And, I was on the Kamala interview, and I was offered the opportunity to come to your platform and talk about myself and most importantly the organization.
That's cool. So in a few words, what do you guys do at Africans in Boston? What is the purpose of the organization?
We get that a lot, just like the name says, Africans in Boston.
Yeah.
And if you look at the logo, you see the continent of Africa with the people from different, you see the arrows coming together. What that represents is Africans with different backgrounds, different cultures coming together and creating a community here in the Boston area, not just the city of Boston. We're looking to create that community in the whole Massachusetts area as well. One thing we realize is when it comes to Africa, there isn't one African. There are so many diverse groups. You can start from the refugee Africans, you come from first generation Africans, you can talk about those coming here to stay, Boston is the hub, you have MIT, you have Harvard. So there are all these diverse backgrounds of Africans, and what we do is we come up with different events and different programs to bring them all together and create a voice and see what we need as a community.
So is that on a weekly basis or?
If we want to go deep into that, our website is africansinboston.org, and to set this goal, in order to achieve it, what we came up with, we have 3 events. The first one is the Hakuna Sundays. Hakuna Sundays, the Sunday, we choose one Sunday of the month, and we all patronize an African restaurant.
Okay.
We have it on our website, I think the 23rd of September. Sunday around the 23rd, 24th, that's when we'll be having in September at Teranga Restaurant. We'll be going there, we're going to meet other Africans, we're going to talk about what's going on, current events, thinking of ways to help each other and whatever the issues are, especially now that we have all these elections going on, the midterm elections, city council, we have Africans, representing. We also have an opportunity to meet them and talk about what our issues are so they can hear us. So that is the first one. The second one is the AD-Net. The AD-Net is more of a professional event where we have a panel. We'll bring out really professionals, like someone from the African Development Bank, to talk about investing back home or how to create wealth while you're not even home and here in America.
So for that event, for example, who's the audience? Who are you trying to target?
So to be honest, the audience is any African or anybody interested in Africa who wants to kind of witness or experience progression. So if let's say we want to talk about mental illness within the African community, we don't have specific target.
That's true.
If you're African and you realize that is hitting home, or you want to hear more about it, then toxic masculinity, whatever the topic is. So I think the topic itself brings the audience, because we don't go out there and say, oh, we want the older generation or we want the younger generation, but the topic itself If you're someone who really wants to hear more about it and want to improve yourself, you know,
You're
you will
free to
come.
join.
You're free to join.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So it seems that you guys are doing quite a lot around community building, involving local businesses that are owned by Africans as well. And it seems that it's all based on collective success, which is also what Kamala Network is also trying to work towards. But I would love to get your opinion on how do you believe that collective success can actually contribute to the development of Africa or a specific nation in Africa?
In Africa. That is a really good question. I always somehow, I know I bring up culture. Our culture, unfortunately, as awesome as it is, you know, I'm representing with, you know, Tara and Carla.
Nice shirt,
yeah. There are some of it that subliminally kind of prevent us from coming together as a team and going for one goal. It starts from our continent itself, it being divided with all these boundaries, and you know, making us think, oh, there's Nigeria is different from Ghana, or Ghana is different from Togo, just because of an invisible boundary that our colonial masters created there. And this is reflected on even our leaders, you know, where we have leaders where there's always war, there's always coup d'etat, because we don't have the opportunity to sit together and come up with one goal. I'll give you an example. Our organization has been around for close to 10 years now, and somehow, like every 2 years, there's always this divide where there's someone in there who has a different agenda.
Okay.
And for the first time, you know, we've sat down and said, okay, guys, we know we'll have our individual, you know, wars. I mean, if you, for lack of a better word, where we have our individual agenda, like what we want to attain, like our short-term goal. But let's look at long-term. Where do we want to see ourselves?
And what
can we do? So luckily, we've been able to put together a team. We have Flossie, graduate from Harvard, the ed school. We have Elisa also graduate from Fitchburg State. We have Kevin, and we have all these different talents coming together. And every week we sit down and say, guys, we know we have our individual goals, but what do we want to do to contribute towards a collective success of the African community? So this is something that we've all come together, you know, even with the onboarding process before you come on board as a management team member. We specifically tell you what the goals are and how we want to achieve it. So if you don't feel like that is aligned with what your personal goals are, then you know you drop off. But if you think you can come on and help with contributing towards that. And one of the things is we don't set the goals. These are conversations we have with the African community. We go to events like Miss African New England pageant, like the Azumti experience. So we have discussions one-on-one, and we hear what the African community needs. So we don't come up with how do I even say that? We don't come up with what we think is wrong with the African community. Is what the African community thinks is wrong. So we just are the voice, and we try to represent as best as we can.
That's very interesting to put culture central to actually work towards collective success. And but it looks like, and it makes sense in business as well. You always sometimes need a culture within a company as well. And that brings me to my next question. What is your opinion about entrepreneurship in Africa? Because if we have to put culture centrally in whatever we do, business-wise, do you believe it will work in the continent? Or is there something that would be basically a barrier to all this and to develop entrepreneurship?
I think unfortunately the education system, or even how we grew up in Africa, doesn't incentivize or motivate entrepreneurs. I mean, they say 3/4 of entrepreneurs in Africa are women. And where do you see them? You know, the markets selling tomatoes, like they represent entrepreneurs in Africa. If that picture was framed in a way where entrepreneurship comes with success, and not the woman who has all of these kids and she's kind of forced to do that. I think that would be a better way to encourage entrepreneurship within our youth, because even if you look at the economic structure of the United States, what the United States brags about to contribute towards the economic success is entrepreneurship, small business owners. But that is what Africa lacks, like trying to create industry, whether it's agriculture industry, whether it's technology, whatever it is. Unfortunately, we don't encourage that. So what we go for is security. Oh, go to school. I mean, I have nothing against doctors or engineers, because that is seen as comfort, like that's secure.
That's true.
Entrepreneurship comes with a lot of risk. You're looking at the market and you're thinking of, okay, what is this problem that I want to go solve? I don't know the exact shot, but it's like a 50-50 chance that you fail or you succeed. And that isn't something that, I mean, our African community wants to take that risk at. We've suffered a lot, we've had a lack of, resource. I mean, I don't want to say resources, but like financial resources. Like we've been at the bottom for a while. So once you get access to, education, they don't want to go back to that bottom. It's like find yourself, a job, something, that is comfortable and very secure. And that is what I've seen, from my upbringing and even the community I'm in. And for my personal experience as an entrepreneur, I would say I've had the opportunity to try, like, investing in real estate, and I've even had my own family look at me like, what are you doing? What if, the market crashes? What if, why don't you go get a job where you have, consistent, it's coming through. And that is what I've seen with my friends as well.
So you would say it's more an issue, it's not really an issue, it's more a way of thinking of getting something safe and regular, but it'll actually bring up some income that is blocking entrepreneurship in Africa. Nice. So according to you, what's the big innovation that will be successful in Africa very soon?
Big innovation. The more you read about a continent that keeps saying Africa's rising, it's obvious we're going to be the most populated continent, in a few years. I might not be right which year, but around 2030, 2035, we're going to be very populated. I don't think we need innovation. I mean, we might need innovation, but I don't think we have to reach so far to see that as something that, that's the only way to, hit that goal. I think agriculture, the more populated we get, people have to eat. And that is something that you won't go wrong, if we're able to create an industry for our huge farmlands, our livestock. These people, our growing number, we have to feed ourselves. And by feeding ourselves, that is us patronizing our own food. If we don't go and contribute towards the agricultural industry without growing number, a foreigner is going to, someone from the Western countries is going to come and say, okay, you guys are growing. Guess what? You guys don't have food. I'm going to give you your food and you have to pay me. And it's going to be a cycle of, us, we thinking, oh, finally we're rising, we're getting the numbers, but someone else is, how do you call it? Someone else is making the decision. And you don't want someone else to be the one feeding you, because they're going to choose whether you live or die. So I think innovation is great. We want to develop, but we have to go back to the bottom of agriculture, and that is what I see to help the future of Africa. I think agriculture is, if we find ways to yield twice as much and not using more water, we can use less water and still produce the same amount of food. Without growing population, this is going to be huge, and that is how we will take back the money and not give it out to all other countries around the world.
It's interesting when you mentioned about Western countries helping local population, and I feel like asking, we were talking about this before this interview, what do you think the role of the diaspora youths or even young professionals already established here in the US or Europe, what do you think their role should be in actually contributing to the development of Africa?
I mean, I haven't done PhD, I haven't done my PhD, I haven't done my research, so this might be my own opinion and my perspective towards it, especially having conversations, discussions with really, educated African enthusiasts. And what I would say is, it's obvious the whole financial aid, like the aid, development aid going back to Africa isn't helping. We are actually kind of handcuffing our own people. The Europeans, the Americans, the USA, them going and helping us. They actually not helping. They are just they're not helping us be independent. They are actually helping us be dependent on them. When you go to a village and you don't teach them how to fish and you always show up with food, they're not going to go out there and look for food when they're hungry. They're just going to sit at home and wait for the next time you come up with food. So I think it's about time the diaspora, we took it upon ourselves and actually find a way to contribute. We are now, I don't want to say we are the brains, but we are now the most educated out of the Africans. We have to find a way to go back and apply that education, those skills. And I'll piggyback on collective success. It's obvious we are not the first generation to try to do this. There's been a lot of people who've tried to do this, but how come we haven't heard the success or how it's going? Because they've tried to do it individually.
Yeah.
So I think the diaspora has to come together, and Africans in Boston is doing one city at a time or one state at a time, how you want to call it, and come together to find a way where we can contribute huge. And it's not just going back home and dumping money, sending Western Union, or calling the USA or Bill Gates and saying, can you just go help this village, but actually going back and helping them, whether to stand, science, technology, how to come up with ways to distribute water, irrigation system for the farm, or engineering, World Cup in South Africa. Instead of us going to China and help, and them coming and building the stadium, we can find a way to use our own architects, our own brains, and I think that is the way forward, because the people back home really need us, and we're not going to. It's not like a savior. We're not going to save them. We're just going and helping our community, because now we have learned what the others, the other countries are doing. We have learned what we don't know. Now we know, So how do we go back and teach it instead of just staying here and just, dumping money and,
I
making
totally
it.
agree with you. I totally agree with you. Because just to add to what you said, I think it's very important to stay realistic when we think about the diaspora going back to help. It's not going to happen just by whatever we do.
Yeah, blink of an eye.
The idea is good. It's good to come up with ideas, but the implementation of whatever is trying to be done is even more important. So I really agree with you when you say that it's very, very important to actually work together towards something and then try to do it without just
saying that thing. And I'll actually give a shout out to Dr. Well. Dr. Well is a director at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. We're talking about collective success. He's a researcher at Harvard, and what he came up with, there's two of them. They came up with the Global Catalyst Fund. What they do is they've created a platform for all doctors in the diaspora to have access to that platform. So when there's someone in the village, somewhere in Cameroon, where the doctor doesn't have an experience on how to do a surgery, that doctor gets access to that platform, sends out all these scans, all these pictures, and these doctors in the diaspora, whether Boston or Tokyo, can go on and actually walk that doctor back home in that village through the process. So that's a huge collective success.
That's true.
And he partnered up with Africans in Boston. What we're trying to do is try to support that, because people think, oh, if there are doctors and there's a platform, that's it. But no, there's so much that they need. They need business people, they need IT, someone to help support that platform, the website, whatever it is that they need. So we all have to come together, and I think that is a start. And I don't know if there's a lot out there too, but that is huge. And when I heard it, I was really impressed. You know how many lives we could save just with that platform.
It's actually very interesting.
Yeah. So that's an example of collective success, which I'm proud to partner up to Africans in Boston and the Global Catalyst Fund.
But it looks like Africans in Boston does many things at the same time.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what is the thing that you enjoy the most doing at the moment?
With Africans in Boston?
Yeah.
The thing I enjoy the most, I think when I go to network events, AT&T experience,
yeah.
and I get really inspired, because when you watch these documentaries and you get really enthusiastic, you get passionate about how you want to go back and help. Because I've been here 7 years, doesn't mean I've forgotten how I go on Facebook and the disparity. I just keep scrolling my timeline, and I have a friend back home I went to school with, and you could tell that he's struggling, and then just going to my friend here is on a vacation. It's like it's right there in my face.
There's a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
How can I help? So going to these network events and hearing what others are doing to contribute just gives me this spark, just inspires me. And at times where it's like you want to give up, and you're like if this person is doing it, now I have that inspiration. I want to keep going. And I'll give you an example. When I was on the experience, one guy I met, Taffy. Taffy, their company Addis. I don't know if you've heard of Addis. Yeah, and they've come up with a way to. I don't know. Do you want me to go into this? Well, we have time. But so basically, they were saying 70% of water, 70% of water consumed in the world goes towards agriculture, and out of that 70%, 50% goes towards one crop. That crop is alfalfa hay. They've been able to come up with a way to grow the same alfalfa hay, and it uses 400 times less water than it will use. He's African. He's come up. They've come up with this idea. See how huge that is going to help out back home. Like people with these huge farms, and there's no water around. How this is still going to help them find a way to grow as much yield without access to even water around them. And I was just so inspired. I was like, wow, this guy's doing it. Whatever it is, I can't complain. I gotta find a way to help as well. So that is one thing I love doing. Hearing, meeting all these Africans here in Boston and hearing what they're doing to help back home.
So if you had to go back like 5 years in time, what would you have done differently in your life?
Oh, back if I had to go back. I think me moving here to Boston, I had the opportunity to move here a while ago, but I was a little hesitant. We as humans, we like comfort. When I say back home, I mean like in Gardner, Leominster, that's where I lived before coming here. And the people, the environment I was in, they weren't supporting my vision, how to help, and just moving here and hearing and meeting people, and how much I've learned, how educated I've been, seeing people who are more passionate than I am. I thought I was passionate when I was back there. So I think if I could go back, I would have made the move, or I would have just kept on going. Because I had a few people, what are you thinking about? Come on, you're here in America, find a nice job, get married and settle down.
Yeah.
And it kind of got into my head a little. But moving here, realizing that there's a team here, and I'm ready to join this team. So if I could go back 5 years in time, I would have made that move. Because I know it's not too late. I'm about to turn 25, but starting that early, I probably would have learned a lot by now. So.
25 is still have a long way to go.
How old are you?
I'm turning 24 in September, so
you're doing all this amazing stuff. That's what I mean.
Well, that's the thing. We're trying, but that's the whole point of this. We're just making sure that you know what we're doing, and I know what you're doing, so we can help out each other whenever needed. And that actually brings me to my next question, which is, you as an entrepreneur, you're probably doing a lot of things. You've done a lot of things. You're preparing for other stuff as well. And then you're involved in Africans in Boston. So what is the biggest mistake you've done in your life at this point? Because for me, as a person now is from Congo, lived in Belgium, part of my life in London as well, now I'm here. I'm seeing different things happening around me, but it's very hard to visualize what people are doing wrong, or what I shouldn't do, let's put it that way, what I shouldn't do to basically avoid things. So what is the biggest mistake you think you did in your life?
Biggest mistake? I think that is, that's tough. There's so many mistakes. There's so many mistakes. But I think one that I wasn't, looking at me now, if you were to go back through the years, the 7 years, obviously there was a phase where when you come to, the saying, when you go to Rome, do what Romans do. I feel like there was a point through that 7 years where I kind of, my pride in my culture, I had to push it a little to be part of the Americans. I wanted to fit in. I had earrings. I wanted to fit in so much because I didn't want to be the odd one out. And once again, as I moved to Boston and seeing how people were proud of their culture, and it reminded me where I came from, and it making me who I am. You know, there are things that I can do today, and I have, you know, I sit around the table with scholars from, you know, MIT, Harvard, and it's like the way I think is different from their way they think. I mean, not making me better than them, but different, my perspective, and that's something I can't change. So me not embracing it and me trying to put it aside and take on another culture, I think that is one thing that I'm not proud of. I mean, I immersed myself so much into the American culture that I think I've seen it all, and I've realized, nah, this isn't me. I'm not, I mean, I'm still African. And it took me back into reading books, Mandela, you know, listening to audio books about Kwame Nkrumah, and it's made me proud of where I am, and especially with the position and the role of taking as the director of Africans in Boston, it's made me realize what we have, the talent we have, and how we want to come together and make people aware, and not just make it a trend that, oh, it's Kente or it's Carol, but actually understand what's the message behind it.
That's cool, that's cool. So is there a quote you live by at the moment? Is there, when you wake up, is there one quote that you think about every morning?
There are a lot of quotes. I think they all come in handy at different points in time, but if you look, I mean, I feel like throughout my life, especially being the oldest out of 3 kids when my parents weren't around back home, and you know, me trying to lead the pack, you know, I lived with my grandma, she didn't even know where my school was. She never went to school, so I had to take the mantle of filling out, you know, PTA forms, signing sheets for my younger brothers. There's a popular thing, a popular quote by the women's movement in America. They say, I lift as I climb. And that is how it's been for me. Like, you know, I was the first to go to college. You know, I was the first right on applying business schools. And I'm not so focused on achieving it, because it doesn't feel, I don't know, people are always chasing dreams, but the only time you feel accomplished is when you turn around and help those who need help. So that's my quote. Every time I feel like I'm making progress, I'll just look around me, whether it's my close family, my brothers, or my parents, or even my friends, or the people I don't know. I try my best to help, because that is when you realize what you've learned or what you've achieved has actually helped someone else. And that is my quote. So I know it's a women's movement, but I love it, and I've taken it onto it, and that is how I'm able to help without looking for anything back, like a pay or, you know. So I lift as I climb.
So what is the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice, when my first job, I remember when I moved here looking for a job, I didn't have a good grasp of the language. You know, I don't know, it was just like, you know, they call it the FOB. I struggled trying to understand humor and all that, and the guy hired me at AT&T, and he said, I know you're a little rough, but you're a hard worker, so I'm going to take on you. And within 6 months, I was making all these amazing accomplishments, and I got a little comfortable. I became a little, you know, if you're human, you get a little cocky, and he set me down. And he's like, Jeff, you've come a long way, but you have a long way to go. And when he told me that, it's just like a smack in the face, where, I don't know, for a second I forgot that, you know, I'm the kid who came from humble beginnings, and I have more than just accomplishing something at AT&T. I have a long way to go. So that was the best advice. So times where I feel like I'm getting too confident, I'm getting too comfortable, I just kind of repeat that in my head. So I kind of get a little level-headed, stay focused, because there's another saying that said, the wolf climbing the mountain is what is it? Do you know what it is?
I've heard about it.
It says the wolf climbing the mountain is what do you call it? It's more dangerous than the wolf up there. Because the guy there, the wolf climbing up there, he's like, I know what I want, and I'm going for it. But the one up there is just comfortable, and I have no idea, you know, someone's coming up there. So I'm always want to be the wolf climbing the mountain, and whatever the mountain is, it's just progress. Because once again, I've come a long way, and I have a long way to go.
So for youngsters here in America and in Africa, what would be the advice you would give them? People that are willing to go into business, or in general.
I think my advice would be, you know, I go on social media, like the millennial, I think there's so many talented people out there, a lot of talent. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I wish I could do that. You know, as an entrepreneur, you realize how valuable someone's talent, someone's personality could be, you know, in your business, but you realize they kind of they don't know how to monetize it, so they end up finding a job or something else that doesn't complement what they already have, like grows that talent, grows, some people are really extroverted, but then they'll end up finding a job in the back of McDonald's where they, whatever they have nothing against McDonald's, but it's like, if I was to advise the young, the youth, will be do something that, helps what you're already passionate about or something that you're good at. So don't be quick to settle for a job just because you're desperate for that money. If it's an internship and it actually motivates you, or actually, how do you call it? How do I call it? Like, it gives you a spark.
Like motivation for
what you do. Just do that. Because you only have one life. And I felt like I was in that spot. With the job, and even though it paid me as much, it didn't feel right. So I had to get out of it, and now I think I'm pursuing something I like. And it's like a cliche. Every book you read, they say it. Everywhere you go, people you hear, but it really is true. Don't settle for that job because it gives you quick money that you can buy nice clothes. Because no, that's not it.
Great. So to wrap up, what is next for you? Where are we gonna see Jeff Siaw in the next 5 years, or maybe the next 2 years?
The next 2 years. I feel like I'm very spiritual, and I believe in God, and I know God has a path for me. As much as I believe in that as well, I also believe that I'm the wolf climbing that mountain, and for now the mountain will be going to business school. I'm applying to a few schools in the area. I want to see where I want to end up, educating myself, because if you want to lead an organization or even a community, you don't want to be at a point where you have no idea what you're talking about.
That's true.
And so going back and getting that education and being really informed and knowing what, I want to represent, that is really crucial. On top of that, my entrepreneurial, what do you say? Endeavors, there you go, my entrepreneurial endeavors. I have a few projects I want to try out, I want to test out, and you guys will hear about it, but now I don't want to give it out. But so 2 years, 5 years, that would be me going back to school, but I'll still be with Africans in Boston. I'm very proud of that organization. So I would recommend you guys to check out the website, africansinboston.org. And if you want to volunteer, if you want to donate to help this cause, definitely do that. You can also register as a member, so you get updates, emails about what's going on in the area. But we're all Africans, and we want to represent Africa.
Cool. All the information will be on the website of Kamala. Jeff, thanks a lot for this interview.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I'll wrap up this interview with a quote that a friend of mine is always pushing me forward to do, and it's start doing whatever you can, where you are, with whatever you have. So guys, thank you very much for this interview, for watching this interview. Please feel free to like and share if you liked it, and I'll see you at the next one. Thanks a lot.